Every year, millions of people wake up early, go to work, pay their bills, and believe they are slowly building a stable life. They believe the system is fair. Work hard, save money, buy a home, raise a family, retire peacefully. That promise has been repeated for generations. But something strange has been happening quietly in the background. Salaries rise a little. Promotions come occasionally. Yet the feeling of financial pressure never disappears. In fact, for many families, it keeps getting worse. Groceries feel heavier, rent feels sharper, savings feel thinner. And despite working harder than ever before, the middle class is slowly discovering a terrifying truth. They are running faster every year, but the finish line keeps moving further away. Imagine running on a treadmill that slowly speeds up without telling you. At first you feel fine, your income increases slightly, maybe you get a raise, maybe your career improves, but suddenly your bills start rising faster than your paycheck. Housing prices jump, education costs explode, healthcare becomes unpredictable, and the life that once felt comfortable begins to feel fragile. What makes this even more dangerous is that it happens slowly, not overnight, not dramatically, but quietly, year after year, almost invisibly. By the time people realize what's happening, they're already trapped inside the machine. This isn't just bad luck. It isn't just inflation. And it definitely isn't because people suddenly forgot how to manage money. There is a deeper shift happening in the global economic system. A shift that most people never see because nobody explains it clearly. The middle class isn't collapsing in a dramatic crash. It's being slowly squeezed from both sides. On one side, costs are rising faster than incomes. On the other side, wealth is concentrating into fewer and fewer hands. The result is a silent transfer of financial power happening right in front of us. Tonight we're going to uncover the uncomfortable truth behind why the middle class is secretly getting poorer every single year. Not with complicated economic jargon, but with clear ideas that expose how the system really works. Because once you understand the hidden forces shaping your financial life, something powerful happens. Fear turns into awareness, confusion turns into strategy, and suddenly you stop running blindly on the treadmill and start learning how to step off it entirely. For most of modern history, the middle class represented stability. It was the economic backbone of society. Teachers, engineers, nurses, office workers, technicians, small business owners. These people weren't rich, but they weren't struggling either. They earned enough to support their families, buy homes, and build savings over time. But the rules that created that stability have been quietly rewritten. The game didn't collapse. The game simply changed, and most people never realized the rules had shifted. Think about how money worked decades ago. A single salary could support a household. Homes were expensive, but still reachable. Education was valuable, but not crushingly expensive. Healthcare costs existed, but they rarely destroyed entire savings accounts. The middle class had something extremely powerful on its side. The gap between income and expenses was wide enough to allow financial breathing room. That breathing room created savings. Savings created investments. Investments created wealth over time. But today, that breathing room is shrinking. The gap between income and expenses has become dangerously thin. In many households, both adults work full-time just to maintain basic stability. And even then, unexpected expenses can create financial shockwaves. The system has quietly shifted from stability to survival. Instead of building wealth, many middle-class families are simply trying to stay afloat. One of the biggest forces behind this shift is something most people misunderstand: inflation. People often hear inflation described as rising prices, but the deeper truth is more unsettling. Inflation is the slow erosion of purchasing power. Imagine holding a block of ice in your hand. At first it feels solid, but slowly, quietly, it begins to melt. Inflation works the same way. Your salary may look larger every year, but if prices rise faster than your income, your real financial power is shrinking. This creates a dangerous illusion. On paper, people appear to be earning more money than ever before. Salaries have increased compared to decades ago. But when you adjust for the cost of housing, healthcare, education, and basic living expenses, the picture changes dramatically. The middle class isn't earning more in real terms. In many cases, they're earning less purchasing power than previous generations. Housing is one of the clearest examples of this shift. A home used to represent stability and long-term wealth for middle-class families. Today, in many places, housing has transformed into a financial mountain. Prices have risen far faster than wages, turning what used to be a normal life milestone into a decades-long financial burden. Mortgage payments stretch longer, down payments grow larger, and younger generations often feel like they're chasing a target that keeps moving further away. Education tells a similar story. A college degree was once considered a reliable ladder into the middle class. Today, it often begins with massive debt. Students graduate not only with knowledge, but with financial chains that follow them into their careers. That debt delays home ownership, delays investing, and delays wealth building. The ladder that once lifted people upward has become heavier to climb. Healthcare costs add another invisible pressure point. Medical expenses can appear suddenly and without warning. Even people with insurance can face bills large enough to wipe out savings. The psychological effect is powerful. Families become more cautious, more defensive, and more financially stressed, even if their incomes appear stable. All of these forces combine to create a silent squeeze on the middle class. Costs expand outward like walls slowly closing in. Meanwhile, incomes move forward slowly like someone pushing against a heavy door. The result is constant pressure, and that pressure doesn't just affect bank accounts, it affects emotions, decisions, and long-term financial behavior. When people feel financially squeezed, they naturally shift into survival mode. Instead of thinking about long-term investing, they focus on immediate stability. Size. Instead of building assets, they manage expenses. Instead of planning for wealth, they plan for the next bill. Over time, this creates a dangerous cycle where the middle class works harder but accumulates less wealth. Meanwhile, something else is happening quietly at the top of the economic pyramid. Wealth is growing faster for those who own assets. Stocks, businesses, real estate, and investments continue expanding in value over time. Those who already possess financial assets see their wealth multiply. Those who depend only on salaries see their purchasing power struggle to keep up. This creates an invisible divide between two financial worlds. One world earns money through labor, the other world earns money through ownership. Labor income tends to grow slowly and is heavily taxed. Asset income often grows faster and compounds over time. The longer this gap exists, the wider it becomes. Imagine two people starting their financial lives at the same time. One spends decades working only for income. The other gradually builds assets that produce income. After 20 or 30 years, the difference becomes enormous. One person is still trading time for money. The other has money working independently. This is one of the biggest hidden truths about modern wealth systems. The middle class is often trapped in a structure designed around earning rather than owning. Earning is necessary, but ownership is what creates financial acceleration. Without assets, income alone struggles to outrun rising costs. Psychologically, this creates frustration and confusion. Many people feel like they're doing everything right. They study, work hard, stay responsible, and avoid reckless spending. Yet financial progress feels painfully slow. The reason isn't personal failure. The reason is structural imbalance between income growth and asset growth. There's another subtle force at work as well: lifestyle inflation. As people earn more money, their spending naturally expands. A slightly larger home, a slightly nicer car, better schools for children. These decisions feel reasonable and often improve quality of life, but they can quietly consume the extra income that could have been invested. This is why many households earning comfortable salaries still feel financially fragile. Their income has grown, but so have their commitments. Monthly obligations increase until most of the paycheck is already spoken for before it even arrives. At that point, building wealth becomes extremely difficult. Consumer culture intensifies this pressure. Advertising constantly pushes the idea that happiness is connected to upgrades: a newer phone, a better vacation, a more impressive lifestyle. These messages are powerful because they appeal to human emotion, but they also pull money away from long-term wealth creation. Meanwhile, the true engines of wealth operate quietly in the background: ownership, investing, and compounding. These forces are rarely dramatic in the short term, but over long periods they become incredibly powerful. Small investments grow into larger ones, dividends create new income streams, assets appreciate while their owners sleep. The tragedy is that many middle-class families never fully enter this system, not because they lack intelligence, but because rising expenses absorb the resources that could have become investments. They remain hard-working participants in the economy, but rarely become owners of the economic engine itself. However, understanding this reality opens the door to change. Once people recognize that the real game is ownership rather than income alone, their strategy can shift. The focus moves from simply earning money to gradually acquiring assets that produce money. The middle class isn't powerless, but it has been playing a game without fully understanding the scoreboard. Thoughtful. The system rewards ownership, patience, and compounding far more than constant labor alone. Those who learn this truth begin to step out of survival mode and into strategic wealth building. When people finally see the invisible forces shaping their finances, something important changes. They stop measuring success only by income. They begin measuring progress by assets, investments, and financial independence. That shift in perspective can quietly reshape an entire financial future. The road to financial security in the modern world requires a different mindset than previous generations needed. Hard work still matters, discipline still matters, but the real transformation comes from combining income with ownership and long-term thinking. That combination is what allows individuals to escape the slow squeeze affecting the middle class. And once you understand these hidden dynamics, the goal becomes clear. Stop running endlessly on the treadmill. Start building systems that move you forward even when you're resting. If this perspective opened your eyes to how money and the economic system really work, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications, because understanding these hidden financial forces isn't just interesting knowledge. Curious. It's the first step toward building long-term wealth, protecting your future, and making sure the system works for you instead of quietly working against you.